The night Ethan Miller realized he didn't belong in his own house was the night his father told him, "No son of mine needs college. Not you." Ethan Miller was 18 years old, clean-shaven, quiet, focused, the kind of boy who never caused trouble, never raised his voice, and never stopped trying to make his father proud. But to his father, none of that mattered, because in his father's world, there were only two kinds of sons: the one who followed his path and the one who was a disappointment. And Ethan had just chosen his own path. It was late summer in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Chicago. Inside the Miller house, tension had been building for weeks. Acceptance letters had arrived, financial aid offers, scholarship emails. Ethan had worked for years to earn them. Late nights, part-time job, endless studying. He wanted one thing: a chance to build a life that wasn't controlled by his father. But his father had other plans. At dinner that night, the table was set, like always. Perfect, silent, controlled. His father sat at the head of the table, like a judge. His mother stayed quiet, eyes down. His younger sister, Emily Carter, watched everything carefully, always choosing the side that gave her the most advantage. Ethan placed the envelope on the table. "I got in," he said quietly. "Full academic scholarship." No one smiled. No one congratulated him. His father didn't even touch the envelope. Instead, he leaned back, folded his arms, and said coldly, "I already told you. You're not going." Silence. Ethan blinked. "I earned this, Dad." "You earned nothing," his father snapped. "Everything you have is because of me. I got the scholarship myself. And you live under my roof," his father replied sharply. "Which means you follow my rules." Ethan's voice stayed calm. But inside, something was starting to crack. "I want to study engineering. I want to build something of my own." His father laughed, a short, cruel laugh. "Build something? You can barely fix a door hinge. You think you're going to be some big engineer?" Emily smirked. His mother looked down, and Ethan felt the ground under him start to shift. "I'm going," he said. The words were soft, but they were final. The room went completely still. His father's face darkened. "You think you can disobey me and still live here?" he asked slowly. Ethan didn't answer, because he already knew the answer. His father leaned forward, eyes cold. "If you walk out that door for college, don't ever come back." His mother finally looked up. "Please," she whispered, but it was too late. The line had been drawn. That night, Ethan packed his bag. No shouting, no begging, no dramatic goodbye. Just quiet acceptance of a truth he had known for years. He had never really had a home. As he walked out the front door, his father didn't stop him, didn't call his name, didn't even look at him. But as Ethan stepped onto the porch, he heard one last sentence behind him. Cold, sharp, final. "Don't come crawling back when you fail." The door shut behind him, and just like that, Ethan Miller was on his own. He slept that first night on a friend's couch, started college with 2 bags of clothes and a scholarship, worked 2 jobs, studied harder than anyone else, never asked for help, never called home, because he knew something now that most people learn much later. The people who are supposed to support you sometimes become the ones you have to escape. But what Ethan didn't know was this. While he was building his life from nothing, his father was quietly building a secret that would one day destroy everything he thought he owned. And one day, years later, that same house his father used as control would no longer belong to him. And when that day came, the man who once said, "No son of mine needs college," would be standing in a living room he no longer owned, looking at the one person he had thrown away, and realizing he had just lost everything. The first winter almost broke him. Chicago's cold wasn't just weather, it was punishment. Ethan Miller walked across campus at 5:30 a.m., breath fogging in the freezing air, hands buried deep in worn-out jacket pockets he'd bought from a thrift store for $12. He had a full scholarship, but that didn't cover everything. Food, books, transport, life. So he worked. Morning shift at a campus coffee stand. Afternoon classes, evening shift at a hardware store, midnight studying. Sleep, was a luxury. Comfort was a memory. And family was a word he stopped using. Some nights, when the campus got quiet, Ethan would sit alone in the engineering lab. The hum of machines, the glow of screens, the smell of metal and oil. It felt more like home than his own house ever did. Because here, effort mattered. Here, no one told him he wasn't enough. Meanwhile, back at the Miller house, nothing changed. At least, that's what his father told people. Whenever neighbors asked about Ethan, his father would shrug casually. He's off doing his little experiment with college, he'd say. Let's see how long that lasts. Emily Carter played along perfectly. She told relatives that Ethan had run away because he couldn't handle discipline. And their mother, she stayed silent because silence was the only way she had learned to survive. But what none of them knew was that the house they lived in wasn't fully theirs anymore. Years earlier, when Ethan's great-grandmother was still alive, she'd quietly set up something his father barely paid attention to: a trust, a legal structure, a future plan. At the time, his father had signed the documents without reading them properly. He thought it was just about tax benefits and inheritance. He didn't realize one small clause would change everything. Ownership of the house would transfer to Ethan Miller when he turned 25 if he pursued higher education and remained financially independent. À condition, a trigger, a quiet legal time bomb. Back in the present, Ethan had no idea this existed. He was too busy surviving. Second year of college, he was ranked top 5 inches his engineering class. Third year, he was building prototypes for a small startup lab. Fourth year, he graduated with honors. No family at the ceremony, no father, no mother, no sister. But Ethan didn't look into the crowd anymore. He had learned not to search for faces that never showed up. After graduation, he got a job offer in a mid-level engineering firm. Decent pay, long hours, endless work. He took it, saved everything, lived small, invested smart, and slowly, carefully, built something. Years passed, 5 years, then 6, then 7. And with every year, Ethan Miller became someone his father would never recognize. Not just stronger, not just smarter, but unreachable. At 24, Ethan received a letter. Not email, not text. A formal letter from a law office. He stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single document and a note. Upon your 25th birthday, as per the terms of the Carter Family Trust, the residential property located at your childhood address will legally transfer to you. Ethan read it once, then again, then again. His hands didn't shake, his face didn't change, but something deep inside him shifted. The house, that house, the same place where his father had told him, "Don't come crawling back when you fail." The same place he was thrown out from, the same place that was used as control, would legally be his. In less than a year, he folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, and went back to work. Because Ethan didn't celebrate early. He didn't act on emotion. He didn't rush revenge. He planned. For the next 12 months, Ethan did 3 things. He worked. He prepared. He waited. On his 25th birthday, at exactly 9 a.m., his phone rang. "Mr. Miller," the lawyer said, "the transfer has been completed." Ethan looked out the window of his small apartment. Snow was falling again, just like that first winter. But this time, he wasn't cold. "Is everything legally clear?" Ethan asked calmly. "Yes," the lawyer replied. "The property is now fully in your name. There are no conditions remaining." Ethan closed his eyes for 1 second. Just one. Not for anger, not for revenge, but for closure. Then he said the words that would change everything. "Good. Prepare the notice." Because Ethan Miller wasn't going back as a son. He wasn't going back as a victim. He wasn't going back to ask for anything. He was going back as the owner. And inside that house, his father still believed it belonged to him. Still believed control was his. Still believed the son he threw away had nothing. He had no idea that in exactly 72 hours, a legal notice would arrive at his front door, and for the first time in his life, he would feel what it meant to have the ground disappear beneath his feet. Ethan Miller never rushed revenge. He believed in timing, precision, silence. 72 hours after the legal transfer, the envelope was ready. White, thick, official. His name at the top, his childhood address printed beneath it. The same house he had been thrown out of, now legally belonged to him. Ethan held the envelope for a few seconds before handing it to the courier. "Deliver it in person," he said calmly. "Signature required." The courier nodded. And just like that, the first move was made. At the Miller house, everything looked normal. Dinner table set, TV murmuring in the background. His father sitting in his usual chair, flipping through financial papers. Emily Carter was scrolling on her phone, half listening. Their mother moved quietly between kitchen and table. Then the doorbell rang. His father frowned. "Who is it now?" He opened the door. The courier stood there. "Legal delivery. Signature required." His father rolled his eyes but signed anyway. He didn't even check the sender. He closed the door, walked back to the table, sat down, and opened the envelope. At first, nothing changed. His expression stayed bored, annoyed, uninterested. Then, his eyes slowed. His fingers tightened slightly on the paper. His jaw locked. Emily noticed first. "What is it?" she asked. No answer. Their mother looked up. "What happened?" Still nothing. Then finally, his father spoke, but his voice was different, lower, hollow. "This isn't possible." Emily grabbed the paper from his hand. Her eyes scanned the document quickly. Then she froze. "What is this?" Their mother stepped closer, and when she saw the header, "Property Ownership Transfer Notice," the room went silent. The words were simple, clear, legal, unavoidable. The residential property, the Miller house, was now legally owned by Ethan Miller. "No," his father said immediately. "No, this is a mistake." He stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly across the floor. "This is fraud. It has to be fraud." But deep down, he remembered something. A document. Years ago, something his grandmother had made him sign. Something he never cared to read. His hands started shaking as he grabbed his phone. He called his lawyer. "Tell me this is fake," he demanded. There was a pause on the other end. Then the lawyer spoke carefully. "It's not fake. Silence. You signed the trust agreement," the lawyer continued. "It clearly states that ownership transfers to Ethan Miller upon completion of higher education and financial independence." His father's face went pale. "You're telling me I don't own my own house?" Another pause. "Legally, no." The phone slipped from his hand. For the first time in his life, he had no control. Emily stepped back slowly, her mind racing. "So, what does this mean?" His father didn't answer, because he already knew. If Ethan wanted, he could force them out. At any moment, their mother whispered, almost in fear, "Will he come back?" At that exact moment, across the city, Ethan Miller was sitting calmly in his apartment, a cup of black coffee beside him, the second envelope in front of him. This one wasn't legal. This one was personal. He opened it slowly. Inside was a short letter, handwritten, clean, precise. No emotion in the words, only truth. Asterisk, asterisk. "You told me not to come back when I failed. I didn't fail, and I'm not coming back. But I will be visiting my property. Be ready." Asterisk, asterisk. Ethan Miller. He folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and sealed it. Because Ethan wasn't coming to argue. He wasn't coming to shout. He wasn't coming to beg for respect. He was coming to take it. Back at the Miller house, no one spoke during dinner. The food stayed untouched. The silence was heavy, uncomfortable, terrifying. Because for the first time ever, the power had shifted. And in less than 48 hours, Ethan Miller would walk through that front door again, not as a son, not as a victim, but as the man who now owned everything they once used to control him. And when that moment came, there would be only one question left in that house. Who deserves to stay, and who doesn't? The black car stopped slowly in front of the house. Same driveway, same front door, same place where everything had ended years ago. Ethan Miller stepped out. Clean suit. Calm eyes. No anger on his face. No hesitation in his walk, just control. He looked at the house once, not with emotion, but with ownership. Then he walked to the door and knocked inside the house. No one was ready for that sound. His father froze. Emily Carter's phone slipped from her hand. Their mother looked toward the door like she already knew who it was. Knock. Knock. Slow. Firm. Final. His father walked to the door with heavy steps and opened it. And there he was, Ethan Miller. Clean-shaven, confident, unrecognizable from the boy they had thrown out. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then Ethan said quietly, "Good evening." His father tried to speak with authority. "This is still my house." Ethan didn't argue. He simply pulled a folded document from his coat and handed it to him. "Read page 2, Ethan said calmly. His father's hands trembled as he opened it. Ownership confirmation. Legal sale. Ethan Miller, property owner. The power in the room shifted instantly. His father stepped back without realizing it. Emily's face turned pale. Their mother just stared at Ethan, eyes full of regret she had buried for years. Ethan stepped inside, slowly, carefully, like a man entering a place he knew too well. He walked through the living room, glancing at everything. Same sofa, same walls, same table where he had once been told he was nothing. "I'm not here to fight," Ethan said quietly. "I'm here to make things clear." His father clenched his jaw. "You think you can just come here and take everything?" Ethan looked at him, calm, unshaken. "I didn't take anything," he replied. "This was given to me, legally, years ago." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Emily stepped forward suddenly. "You're doing this out of revenge, right?" she said sharply. "You want to punish us." Ethan looked at her, long, steady. "You already did the punishment," he said quietly. "I just survived it." That hit harder than any insult. Emily had no answer. Their mother finally spoke, soft, broken. "Ethan, please, we can fix this. We're still your family." Ethan's eyes softened for just a second. Just 1 second. Then they returned to calm. "Family doesn't throw you out at 18 and pretend you don't exist," he said gently. He reached into his coat again. This time, another document, and placed it on the table. "This is a 30-day notice," Ethan said. "I'm giving you time. Not because I have to, but because I choose to." His father exploded. "You can't do this! This is my house! I built this!" Ethan turned to him slowly, and for the first time, there was a trace of coldness in his voice. "You built a house," he said, "but you never built a family." Silence crashed into the room. His father had no words left, because deep down, he knew it was true. Ethan looked around one last time, the place where he was broken, the place he rebuilt himself, to rise above. "I'll be back in 30 days, Ethan said calmly. "Decide how you want to leave this house." He turned, walked to the door, and stopped for just a moment. Without looking back, he said one final line. "I didn't come back for revenge. A pause. I came back for closure." Then he walked out, door closed behind him, and just like that, the house felt different. Smaller, heavier, no longer theirs. Inside, his father sank into a chair, silent, defeated. Emily stood frozen, realizing her lies had finally destroyed everything. Their mother quietly wiped tears, too late to change anything, because the boy they once controlled had returned as a man they could no longer reach. And in 30 days, that house would no longer be theirs. 30 days passed. No arguments, no visits, no calls, just silence. The kind of silence that forces people to face everything they've done. On the morning of the 30th day, a moving truck stood outside the house. Boxes lined the porch. The Miller family was leaving, not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. Inside, the house felt empty. The walls echoed. The rooms that once held control, pride, and harsh words now held only regret. His father stood in the living room, looking around slowly. Every corner reminded him of something he said. Every wall reminded him of something he broke. Not furniture, not money, something deeper. His mother folded the last piece of clothing into a box, her hands trembling. Emily Carter sat on the stairs, quiet for once. No phone, no attitude, no control left. A car pulled up outside. They all heard it, and they knew. Ethan Miller stepped out again. Same calm face, same clean presence. But this time, there was no tension, only finality. He walked up to the door. This time, it was already open. No one stopped him as he entered. No one spoke, because now, this was his house. Ethan looked around once more. The same place that once rejected him now stood completely powerless in front of him. His father finally stepped forward. For the first time in his life, his voice was not loud. It was small. Ethan, Pause. I was wrong. The words hung in the air, heavy, late, but real. Ethan didn't react immediately. He looked at his father. Really looked at him. Not with hate, not with anger, just with clarity. I know, Ethan said quietly. That was all. No speech, no dramatic forgiveness, no emotional explosion, because some damage doesn't need words. It just needs truth. His mother stepped closer, tears in her eyes. Can we fix this? Ethan looked at her gently. Some things can be rebuilt, he said, but not everything goes back to the way it was. Emily finally spoke, her voice shaky. I ruined everything, didn't I? Ethan looked at her. You made your choices, he said calmly, just like I made mine. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't painful. It was acceptance. The moving truck door slammed outside. It was time. His father picked up the last box, stopped at the door, turned back one last time. This house, the place he used to control everything, was no longer his. He looked at Ethan. Take care of it, he said quietly. Ethan nodded once. I will. They walked out. On their B1. No shouting, no drama. Just the quiet exit of people who finally understood what they had lost. The door closed, and this time, Ethan Miller was the one standing inside. Alone, but not broken, not rejected. Not the boy who was told he was nothing. Now he was the owner, the builder, the man who turned pain into power. He walked into the living room, sat down slowly, looked around, and for the first time in his life, that house felt like home. On the table, he placed one last thing. The original letter, the one he had written years ago but never sent. He opened it, read the last line again, then quietly smiled and folded it away. Because he didn't need revenge anymore. He had something better. Closure. Outside, the moving truck disappeared down the street, taking the past with it, leaving the future behind. And Ethan Miller, finally, had both. Elon